سلام بچه‌ها، خوش اومدید. قبل از اینکه ویدیو رو بخوام شروع بکنم، عید رو بهتون تبریک میگم و برای همتون آرزوی سلامتی و خوشبختی میکنم و امیدوارم که توی سال جدید به تک تک آرزوهای قشنگتون برسید. ویدیوی امروزمون یه زن روس جادوگره که بردنش توی مصاحبه تلویزیونی و باهاش صحبت کردم. این زن روس توی مصاحبه میاد راجع به اینکه چجوری مردم رو دعا و طلسم میکنه و اینکه اون کسایی که دعا و طلسم کرده چجوری متوجه بشن که دعا روشونه و کسایی که دعا و طلسم روشون هیچ تأثیری نمیذاره صحبت میکنه، یعنی تک به تک رو توضیح میده. بهتون پیشنهاد میکنم که تا آخر این ویدیو حتما با من همراه باشید. پس بدون هیچ معطلی میریم سراغ ویدیومون. فقط یه خواهش ازتون دارم که همین الان دکمه لایک رو بزنید و فراموش نکنید.
Jana, could you please tell us how you work with the people? Let's say a deadman or someone else connects to a person. How does this happen? Through one's thought, emotions, or through what?
Basically, involvement starts with thoughts. A person begins to be drawn somewhere where he will a priori
بچه‌ها از اینجا شروع شده که میخواد توضیح بده چجوری یه آدم رو میخواد دعا بکنه. فرض کنید که یه نفر رفته پیش جادوگر، دعانویس، و میگه که یه طرفی رو میخوام دعا بکنم، حالا هرچی دعای هرچی میخواد براش بگیره. این داره توضیح میده که چجوری این دعا رو انجام میده.
feel bad. He can approach some company, ask for a cigarette, and they will beat him up. Or he will go and get drunk so much that he will fall asleep somewhere and will be robbed. In other words, it begins with the insertion of an alien thought into a person's head, and due to this thought, a person starts acting. So there is a chain that starts with a thought and everything ends at the physical level.
Also, for example, a client comes to you and says, I have an acquaintance and I want to do this and this to him. How do you impact that person if you basically haven't seen him yet?
Well, I don't do such things anymore. When I used to do it, I did it through demons.
Do you need a photo, a name, or something else for that?
I definitely needed a person's photo, and in the rarest cases, I had to hear his or her voice. I could call a person on the phone as if I had the wrong number, and it was enough for me to hear his or her voice.
When you have a person's photo, hear his voice, and let's say you know his name, do you form some kind of image of this person?
I catch his energy trail. It is such a thing, invisible thread. I mean, I visualize this person, his image, his mental imprint. I visualize a thin thread from him to me, an energy channel. And I already shove or tie into this channel whatever I want. If we consider it associatively, that's what it roughly looks like.
در واقع این زن جادوگر داره میگه که موقعی که میخواد روی یکی تأثیر بذاره، اول عکسش رو میگیره، میبینه، صداش رو میشنوه و اون رو تجسمش میکنه. وقتی که توی ذهنش داره تجسم میکنه، یه کانالی، یه خط نامرئی بین خودش و اون رو تصور میکنه و با انرژی که داره به اون آدم متصل میشه و از اون طریق هر فکری رو میتونه تو سر طرف بندازه. مثلا تو سرش بندازه که مثلا الان به یه موضوع بد فکر کن، یا به یه موضوعی فکر بکنه و اون فکری که توی سر اون فرد میندازه رو اجرایی بکنه.
So you find a person somewhere in the world of energies.
Yes, sort of on the astral plane.
Does he feel anything at that moment? What do you think?
Well, he may have a flush or a fever, or a person may stumble suddenly or begin to wander in speech. This can happen. When you work through dark forces, a person often wakes up at a certain hour during the night. While working with a person, it is especially done on holidays.
اینا مواردیه که کسی که دعا داره حس میکنه. یعنی اینکه طرف اضطراب میگیره، تب میکنه، یه حالت سردرگمی داره، شبا بی دلیل از خواب میپره. اینا علائمشه که داره روی اون آدم تأثیرشو میذاره.
on the New Year Eve or on the 8th of March, and you purposely wait for these holidays in order to weaken his energy, to weaken his natural or ancestral protection and begin to work on him.
So when the person is drunk,
Yes, definitely.
does the amount of alcohol matter?
Sure. If a person is drunk, he sleeps. He has no control over himself. He loses awareness. So he's already vulnerable. Basically, alcohol lowers vibrations instantly, then it is easier to work. It is easier to attach an entity, and it is easier to take possession of a person's
الکل
mind.
ارتعاشاتش
Does
رو
it mean that
میاره
it's more
پایین،
difficult to
باعث میشه که
influence a
انرژی
person
فرد
if he
خیلی
keeps his
ضعیف
thoughts
بشه.
in purity?
Yes, absolutely. When faced with various religions, it is very difficult to influence Muslims. They are in a constant connection with the egregore. They do namaz every day and read prayers on a daily basis. They are constantly under some kind of a dome, so it is very difficult to influence them. When you start impacting a person, he begins to address in a prayer. Indeed, many of them are very different from those who come to
نکتهش هم اینجا بود. میگه روی مسلمونا نمیتونم تأثیر بذارم چون هر روز دارن دعا میکنن، نماز میخونن. این حالت گنبدی که آدما زیرش میرن باعث میشه که جادو و طلسم روشون اثر نکنه. اعتقادشون باعث میشه که جادو و طلسم زیاد نتونه روشون اثر بکنه. بچه یه چیز دیگه که این دو صداه که توی فیلم میبینی به خاطر اینکه اینا دارن به زبان روسی صحبت میکنن و خب به انگلیسی دوبله شده، برای همین دو صدا است.
church only when everything is bad in their life. They come to pray and then for 5 years they forget about God, some canons, and so on. Muslims, as a rule, passionately believe and passionately give energy to their egregore. And this egregore protects them very well. That's why it is very difficult to work to make any kind of influence on a true Muslim believer.
منظورش از اگرگور همون خداه، همون منظورش یه انرژی بزرگه. خب اونا هیچ دیدی نسبت به مسلمونا ندارن و خدایی که مسلمونا دارن میپرستن رو میگن یک انرژی خیلی بزرگه که دارن میپرستن و اون انرژی بزرگ اجازه نمیده به من که بتونم روش تاثیر بذارم.
Is this some kind of a good egregore?
Well, for them, yes. This egregore is good for adepts who contribute good energy to it.
How do you sense it? For instance, you have found an energy trace of such person. What's next? Do you try to drag him somehow to visualize this threat and you fail? Or how do you do that?
It disappears. I cannot get a grip on it. I focus on it, but something immediately knocks me out of the flow, just like that. Or I visualize a person in front of me clearly and can affect him even at a mental level, but some image is not created in my mind at all. I even look at a photo, reproduce an image, but it vanishes from my mind. Thus, I can clearly see that a person is
میگه ارتباطم قطع میشه، نمیتونم تاثیرگذاری داشته باشم.
Nowadays, there are very few people among Christians who truly believe. Even those who write in their comments that God is in the soul, that they are all faithful believers, but in reality they are not. Even most often they write that all this is a sin, but then ask in a private message how to make a robin spell. Such cases also happen.
A robbing spell?
A robin spell.
What is it?
It means pulling a flock or some benefits, beauty, money, success. In other words, pulling off something good from another person. There is shifting when we dump some crap on someone else, and there is pulling.
طلسم رابین یعنی خوبیای یکی رو میگیره به یکی دیگه منتقل میکنه.
To influence them by various magic methods in any way.
There are such people. If there is ritual protection on a person, it's not even possible to connect.
بچه اینجا که میگه چه کسانی به غیر از حالا مسلمونا دعا و اینا روشون اثر نداره، میگه کسی که مراسم خودش انجام بده، یعنی تو همین وادی‌های شیطانی باشه و یا بر خودش جنی داشته باشه. اینجاست که دیدید تا حالا شنیدید میگن رفته طرف دعا بگیره گفتن همزاد داره، یه همچین چیزیه، طرف همزاد داره یا برای خودش یه جنی رو به خدمت خودش گرفته. میگه اینجور آدما هم نمیتونم من روشون تاثیر بذارم، نمیتونم ارتباط بگیرم باهاشون.
Ritual protection over him, or if an entity is in a person's service, it is also difficult to do that. It happens that a person has a strong ancestral protection. He has a powerful, prosperous, rich kin from generation to generation, and even looking at the cards, you cannot read information from him. He is covered as impenetrable. It happens.
You touched upon an interesting point that when a person experiences strong emotion, he opens up to the invisible world. But what if a person diligently works on himself, controls himself, and doesn't even allow any of the low qualities to manifest? Does it mean that he belongs to a category of people to whom it's impossible to do anything by means of magic?
حالا به غیر از مسلمونا و کسایی که خودشون توی این کارن و برای خودشون جن دارن، یه سری آدمای دیگه ای هم هستن که داره ازش پرسه که کسای دیگه ای هم که خودشون پشتکار دارن، رو خودشون کنترل دارن و آدمای آگاهی هستن، آیا رو اونا هم میتونی تأثیری داشته باشی یا نه؟
Nothing is impossible. There are difficulties. There are points that you've mentioned where it would be difficult to work with such a person. It would take a lot of manipulation to break his will. This is energy consuming, and not every practitioner will be breaking through that door for so long. Someone will just say, hell with it, he doesn't give in. There are such cases.
Is it possible that he will never give in? Did you have such cases in your practice?
I had once. There was a man who didn't give in at all. He felt a strong impact but didn't give in.
Were you personally acquainted with him, or did you get his photo, roughly speaking?
No, how to say, it was an order, but I met this person once. That man was an athlete, very hard-tempered, and he had self-control, a really tough one. Athletes and military men may have such a temper.
یعنی امکان داره که با خود کنترلی و تمرکز رو خودتون هم بتونید جلوی این داستان دعا رو بگیرید.
Self-control at the level of emotions, right?
Yes, discipline, self-control. The man controlled and distinguished his thoughts from alien ones. Hazes had no effect on him. He was fully aware. Such people are very difficult to work with. There are such people indeed.
What do you mean by the word awareness?
When a person understands that something is wrong with him, that he goes against his principles. Let's say he will never cheat on his wife. He has the principle that if there is one, then it's forever. I attach an entity that pushes him. You should cheat. You should sleep with that female client. And his principles definitely take over. That's what awareness is about. A person doesn't succumb to any provocations that are imposed on him and intended to break his will. When a person begins to realize that something is wrong with him, delve into himself, try to control his emotions and follow his principles. It is very difficult to work with him.
میگه این فکرایی که من توی سر آدما میندازم، خب یه سری‌ها اگر کنترلگر باشن و بتونن به احساسات خودشون غلبه کنن و روی خودشون کنترل داشته باشن، یه جوریه که من نمیتونم روشون تاثیر بذارم و اونا هم جزو آدمایی هستن که خب این دعا و اینا روشون هیچ تأثیری نداره. خیلی خب بچه‌ها، اینم از ویدئوی امروزمون. امیدوارم که ازش خوشتون اومده باشه. اگر خوشتون اومد لایک رو فراموش نکنید، سابسکرایب رو فراموش نکنید. پیج اینستا هم براتون میذارم این بالا، حتما اونجا منو فالو داشته باشید و مثل همیشه امیدوارم که شاد باشید و لبتون خندون. خدا نگهدار.